With the Los Angeles Rams schedule set in stone and ready to go, I thought it'd be fun to rank every Rams game from hardest to that's a toughie, trap games. You never know. We'll see, but Rams are probably gonna win. And on paper, Rams win. Okay. So I'll go through every Rams opponent for the 2026 season, and of course, divisional opponents I will rank separately because you play them twice, right? So by separately, I mean one game or two games per NFC West opponent. That being said, feel free to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks so much for tuning into the Rams Radar. I'm Peo Time, a dude on YouTube from Canada who loves talking about the Los Angeles Rams. And I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm crazy? I love some nuance. Let's get into it here. So, okay, I put the Rams in the hardest game just because, like, sometimes the Rams, they're their own, worst enemy, right? You can beat yourself, right? So they're in their hardest game, but that's me just kind of trying to be funny, but maybe not doing the best job of it. Anyway, their first game of the year, you got the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I could put this in, that's a toughie, but because it's over in Australia, an NFL game has never been played in Australia before, the Niners and Rams, it just seems like it's always comes down to the wire. I'm optimistic the Rams can get the win in Australia, but I do think this is going to be one of the Rams' hardest games of the season, right? Starting week one. Again, this schedule in general, it's a tough schedule. But lots of primetime games that we'll talk about in here. Starting off the season hot in Australia in primetime. So yeah, putting the week one 49ers game there. All right, then we got week two, the New York Giants, a primetime game at SoFi Stadium, Monday Night Football. So the Rams, they're gonna take a flight back from Australia over to Los Angeles, get to recuperate from the jet lag, and then they have that extra day to play the Giants on Monday Night Football. And the Giants, they got a new head coach. They have some talented players. You assume they're going to be healthier than they were last year. John Harbaugh, I do think he starts the Giants off strong this year. I don't know how sustainable their team will be for the whole season, but I am going to put this game in. That's a toughie. Just in the sense of there's some variables there. Monday night games. And one of my biggest concerns of this schedule as a whole is the Rams' routine gets broken a lot, and so that I'm putting that in the that's a toughie category because I think the Giants are going to be a tough out for any opponent this year. I do think Harbaugh brings a legitimacy to them, and I think with Jackson Dart being healthy, they could do some really cool things. So I'm going to put that's a toughie. And if you haven't got enough of the Rams in prime time, well, here we are, third week in a row to start the season. The Denver Broncos. Yes, they got Bo Nix. You assume he's gonna be healthy. We're not sure. We're still waiting on opponents for the updates for that. You have that Denver defense, especially that secondary. Woo! That is gonna be a tough game. It's in Denver, Mile High Stadium. Sunday Night Football, and I am going to put this in hardest games of the year. One of the hardest games. Not as hard as the San Francisco 49ers, but I do think it's going to be a hard game. And again, don't worry, I'm not going to put every game in the hardest game there, but they do have a lot of challenging games coming up this year, and I think that facing this Denver Broncos team that, let's face it, if Bo Nix is playing in that AFC Championship game, they probably go to the Super Bowl. So that's all I have to say about that. I think the Broncos are going to be a good team next year and one of the best in the NFL. So that's kind of where I'm putting the Broncos there. And one of the hardest games. Not as hard as that San Francisco 49ers game, though. Week 4, the Rams play the Philadelphia Eagles, who always play the Rams tough. It's one of those things. The Rams have not had a lot of success against the Eagles in recent history, and I don't know if this Eagles team got worse or better. To me, they're one of the biggest mysteries in the NFL right now. And if you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan watching this, I would love to know your opinion of the state of your team, just because I really don't know what to make of their offseason. I do think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but there's the AJ Brown thing that we think he's traded. I'm assuming, but like, who knows? um, I do think that the Eagles are a ran organization, and Howie Roseman is one of the best GMs in football. So that will keep their talent pool on that team for years to come. So I am gonna put, because it's in Philly, the Eagles. I am gonna put that is a hard game. I'm going to put them a little bit above the Broncos. I still think that game against the 49ers week 1 is the hardest game here. And if you were tired of that 1 o'clock game slate after only one non-primetime game this season, the Rams face the Buffalo Bills. Yes, it's going to be at SoFi Stadium. And so excited to see the Rams get to take the Bills on again. We all know that was such a fun game the last time the Bills and Rams played each other. Oh, that block, the block the block punt return for a touchdown and everything. That game was crazy. It was wild. Anyway, I am also going to put the Bills in this hardest games category here, right behind the Broncos, just because Josh Allen's coming into SoFi Stadium. Going to be a tough one there. And so, yeah, as you can tell, I do think the Rams season starts off with a lot of hard games, but I think that the Rams are that good of a team. They can still win most of these games. I do think the Rams have the best roster in the NFL right now. I'm excited to see them get some tough opponents early in the season. All right, here you are. Now we're getting to what can be known as kind of the softer part of the Rams schedule. They're playing the Arizona Cardinals. They got a new head coach in Mike LaFleur. Does that concern you? I almost want to put them in you never know for that reason alone. I do think that Mike LaFleur will bring a modern offense to the Arizona Cardinals. I think that they still don't have the same talent as the rest of the NFC West. They got a lot of catch up to do, but I do think they are going to be a better, more competitive team this year. They were competitive in a lot of their games last year. They ended on a 9-game losing streak, but I am going to put this one because it's at SoFi Stadium. Cardinals, I'm writing that down as a Rams win right there, and can't wait to see that. In early prediction, Kyron Williams has his best game of the season against the Cardinals right then there. Then Then the Rams play the Raiders. And the Raiders are another one of those teams that, they were the number 1 overall pick. They got Mendoza. They have Kirk Cousins. They have a really cool schedule release video. Is this a team that is ready to, take that next step forward? I think they got some good building blocks in, Las Vegas. I don't see them being a team that's ready to compete, with a team like the Rams. So I am also putting them in this Rams win. Put them a little ahead of the Cardinals there. But that's my opinion on the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, you got the battle for LA coming up, right? Now, I do believe the Chargers have some really good talent on that team. I think that Harbaugh, as a head coach, is there. They've always seemed to be so banged up. Is this a Chargers team that's going to win a lot of games this year? I really do think so. I think they're going to compete for their division, but I do think in the Battle of the LA, the Rams will come out on top. I'm confident that this game will be a fun game, so I'm going to put it in potential trap games. But I'm confident that the Rams, roster for roster, match up really well against the Chargers, and I'm going to put that in the trap game category there. But I think the Rams will come out on top on this one. Then you got the Commanders. Yes, the Rams versus the Commanders. Commanders banged up, one of the most banged up teams last year. Jane Daniels coming back. We'll see how he looks. Year three, healthy. I think you got to put them in this category. You never know. You just never know. You never know. You never know. I would debate putting them in the Rams win, but the Commanders are a team. They seem like they're going to be feisty, and Jaden Daniels is a really fun player that can make a lot of plays. If he's healthy. So and you know what, underrated wide receiving core with the Commanders as well. So I'm going to put them in the. You never know. You never know. And I don't have another Arizona Cardinals signal here, so I'm gonna do the Dolphins signal, which also represents the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams' second game against the Cardinals in Arizona, and I am gonna put it in this category here. And again, I know people watching this are gonna be like, the Rams don't even play the Dolphins this year. Well, it's just because I don't have the paid subscription to Tiermaker. This pretend this dolphin is a red cardinal. Yeah, and I'll be doing that for the Niners and Seahawks later on when I get to them. But yeah, I think the Rams sweep the Cardinals this year. It might be one of those games where like, oh, the first half of football, the Cardinals are competitive, but then the Rams lock in and get the win. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Cardinals for this season, at least. But I still do think they made a great choice in hiring Mike LaFleur. Gets a couple drafts under him. We'll see next year. We'll see next year. All right, the Thanksgiving Eve game, another primetime game for the Rams. Who'd have thunk? The Rams play the Green Bay Packers, and I no, I'm not putting there. I do think the Packers are a team that they're always competitive, right? And I think that obviously they have one of the largest fan bases in the NFL. They're going to show up. They're going to travel well. This is one of the games I'm most excited about this season. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I could see this being a pretty high scoring game, but I'm gonna put them in the that's a toughie. I don't think it's one of the hardest games on the Rams schedule, but I'm putting it in that's a toughie. It's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a brawl, and I think it'll be a higher scoring game. So we'll see. And speaking of high scoring games, remember when the Rams and Chiefs played in 2018? Yeah, that barn burner. And people are craving for this rematch. Both teams healthy. That's what we want. And here we go. We get it. I'm so excited for this game. Another primetime matchup. I Man, I don't know where to put this one. Is this one of the hardest games? I just don't know what to make of the Chiefs. I really don't. Because Mahomes is that good of a generational talented quarterback. They lost their secondary, and I think the Rams. Well, sorry, I should say the Rams stole their secondary, or didn't steal. We bought them. We bought them. We paid good top dollar for them. What I I'm tempted to put this game in the hardest games here, but I actually think I'm gonna put it in that's a toughie. I just think Chiefs got some roster building to do. They still got Mahomes, but I think pound for pound, the Rams roster is on a different level right now. I'm gonna put them in that's a toughie there, and some of you might be like, that's disrespecting Mahomes and Reed. I think that's where they're at. I think that the Chiefs obviously had a disastrous season for them last year, and I think they got to recover from that. And they did lose, Watson and McDuffie on the defense. Those are two pieces I think they're going to miss, right? And the Rams are going to happily employ them. All right, the Rams are playing the 49ers again, so I'm going to use the Jets as the 49ers second logo. This is in Santa Clara, and the Rams are. I'm assuming in midseason form, and you're assuming at this point that the Niners are in midseason form, but who knows? Uh, Injuries have always been a factor, it seems, for the Niners. Well, well, I don't think this game is as hard as playing them over in Australia week one specifically, just because week one is always the wonky games, right? So I am gonna continue to respect the 49ers and the Rams rivalry. I'm gonna put this in that's a toughie behind the Green Bay game. Uh, yeah, it just anytime the Rams and Niners play, it seems to go down to the wire. The Rams did put a pretty good butt whooping on them late last year. Would love to see the Rams do that again. Love to see the Rams do that again. But I do respect the rivalry, and often these Rams 49ers games can come down to the wire. And that's kind of where I'm at there. So again, I know you're like, the Rams don't play the New York Jets. Yeah, no, I just, trying to be like, hey, maybe the Niners should be more like the Jets, right? All right, we got the Dallas Cowboys here. Yes, Dallas. Ooh, always fun when your team plays the Cowboys. You get Cowboys fans all riled up here. I am going to put this game in the Rams win. Yeah, I know Dak Prescott and stuff like that. If this game was earlier in the year, I would maybe put it in the trap game territory, but I think where the Dallas roster is right now, and I just, it's in SoFi, it's not in Dallas. I could see this game being, a fun game to go to, lots of points, but I see this as a Rams win on the schedule. That's just kind of where I'm at with it there. All right, we're into the final three games of the season. The Rams play the Seahawks on Christmas Day in this next one here. And I'm putting this up here. It's the hardest game of the season outside the Rams playing themselves every week. Um, yeah, this is going to be a toughie going into Seattle, defending Super Bowl champions. The Seattle's a good team, right? They of course, they won the Super Bowl. They beat the Rams in the NFC Championship game. Still hurts a little bit. But yeah, I think that's going to be the hardest game on the Rams schedule. It's so late in the year. I think the NFL is counting on both the Rams and Seahawks being contenders next year. And hopefully the Rams are in a position where if they win this game, they win the division. But only time will tell. But yeah, that game, Christmas, it's the primetime game. Who knows what the season's going to be like and how it's going to play out in the NFC playoff picture, everything like that. I think that game on Christmas is going to have a lot of high stakes. And I would love if the Los Angeles Rams could give all of us Ram fans a win on Christmas. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams are playing the next after that. It's in Tampa. And I am going to put this in the potential trap game territory there. I do think the Rams should win this game. The Buccaneers, I do think they're a team that's going to be competitive. I think if I were to be asked who's going to win the NFC South next year, I would say the Buccaneers as long as they're healthy. I think Baker is a really good quarterback, and if he can stay healthy all season long, the Buccaneers will probably stay relevant. And the way that division goes, there always seems to be a late division race for the NFC South. So I do think the Rams win this game, but I'm putting the Buccaneers in that category of like, it could be a trap, could be a trap, could be a trap. And then, of course, the Rams finish off their season at home playing the Seattle Seahawks once again. And, okay, who should I use? We'll use a fun one. We'll use, they're a bird. We'll use the Falcons as pretend this is a Seahawk. Again, don't fall for the Seahawks propaganda. A Seahawk is just a cool way of saying seagull, which is the most annoying bird at the beach. C'est la vie. And I am, I gotta respect the Seahawks for what they are. I don't. The only caveat is we don't know. Will this game mean something? Will it mean nothing? Right? And so I am gonna put it in the hardest games, just out of respect for the Seahawks. But I'm gonna put it here at the bottom here, just with the caveat as we don't know what this Week 18 is gonna look like. We don't know if it's gonna be prime time. It's crazy to think the Rams have 7 primetime games scheduled, but with the last 2 weeks of the season schedule in flex, they could potentially have 8 or maybe 9 games in primetime, which would be like half their season in primetime games. We're going to be seeing a lot of the Los Angeles Rams in the national spotlight, which is exciting as a fan. Obviously, you have to wait longer to see your team play on a Sunday, which can kind of be a bit of a downer, but it's hype. It's fun when the Rams are actually playing. So that's my list here of the games that I think are going to be the hardest ones. The tough games, that's a toughie. The trap games, You never know, but I think the Rams should win. And then the ones I'm putting, those are wins for the Rams. I put confidently there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from each and every one of you. I do my best to respond to all the comments I can. And yeah, would love if we can build a really cool community here on the Rams Radar. As always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams! Woo!